my name's Brent Stone with Funnel Force, and what we're going to talk about today is how to hit your first 1,000 followers on social media. Well, here's what I can tell you about that. Most people need to really dial in their business's brand. And a lot of people when they hear brand, they think their logo. Your brand is so much more than that. And I'm not going to talk a lot about brand at this point. We're going to talk about how to get that first 1,000 followers. But first, you have to get the understanding of what a brand is first. And so what a brand really is that feeling that somebody gets about your company when they see your marks, your logo, they hear your name, and really you build a brand by delivering on promises. So whatever your business is about, your brand behind your business is about, the feeling that people get is typically one that comes from knowing if you're going to deliver on your promises, which sounds really funny. Uh, but that's typically how a brand is understood to humans. It's like we know when we see, an Apple iPhone and you see the Apple logo, that it's going to be a really good product, or you see like a Samsung logo, it's going to be a really cutting edge product. There's different things that are inspired by certain logos, right? So the next thing is, once you have your brand figured out, then you can work on defining your perfect audience, your most ideal audience to hear about your business. Most businesses do not do this. They skip this part. They think they define their audience by wanting to hit as many people as possible with their marketing message. And what ends up happening is that their net is so large that their message is watered down, and it hits a bunch of people that truly are just either A, not interested in the solution that they provide, or B, the message is so watered down that the people that actually need the solution, when they hear the message, it's so watered down that it doesn't actually like move them to take action to either learn more information or go make a purchase. So what ends up happening is that you don't get any followers when you start posting on social media because you're trying to talk to too many people. Really, the way you get momentum on social media platforms is once you figure out your brand, then you figure out your ideal audience, you can then reverse engineer your message. But before we get to the message, understanding the audience and understanding how to define that audience is key. So one of the first things you want to look at first is demographics. What are demographics? Demographics are like where my core audience lives, how much money do they make, where do they send their kids, public school, private school, do they shop for Maseratis or Mazdas? Do they like to subscribe to I was going to say certain like magazines or publications or different things like that, but then I think I'm getting into more psychographics. Psychographics is more of like behavioral information, what people tend to gravitate towards behaviorally. Do people like to spend time at the country club? Do people like to go and spend time at a spa? Do people like to go spend time at the gym? There's psychographic information about your ideal client. And so understanding what those things are really matters when you go to define your client persona, which is what Google would talk about with like your most ideal client. So you want to define that first. Then you can start working on your message. And then you can reverse engineer your message off of, the demographic and psychographic information and talk directly to that one person, which sounds like you're really casting a narrow net, but that is the entire point. Most businesses, when they get started marketing and they're just opening their doors, they're trying to become profitable, which means that they don't have a lot of marketing dollars left over. So if you try to cast a net too thin, you're already behind. If you talk to your exact person that you're trying to market to and the pain points that you can solve with your business and the solutions your business provides, what ends up happening is that you get those people to buy from you, which means you can keep your business afloat until you can sell more of what it is that you're providing, until you can have so much leftover profit that then you can start coming up with another USP and unique selling proposition, and then going after maybe another message and another layer. You can talk to another ideal client that might be part of your business plan or whatever the case is. Most people, what they do is they try to talk to all the people that they could potentially serve right out of the gate, and in terms they shoot themselves in the foot because they don't get anybody doing it that way, and they have to rely on going and doing sales themselves versus leveraging marketing and advertising to be able to bring people to them that are warm leads. So on social media, to get those first 1,000 followers, you follow the steps. Understand your brand. What feeling does your business convey to people when they see your logo and other things? And a lot of times that has to do with how you've marketed yourself over time. So that's a whole nother, we'll do a whole nother short segment on that, on how to build, a brand identity in like a small town or like a small city quickly. We can discuss that. But to get, your first 1,000 followers on social media, what you're really going to want to do is make sure you have an understanding of how to build a brand and brand identity. But then more so than that, you want to start dialing in on the exact audience of what you're trying to create you're going to dial in on your exact audience. And then you want to start moving in towards your ideal message to that audience. And so as you then start to post, what you're going to do is you're going to talk to specific people. So the algorithm, here's where we start talking about the social media platforms and the algorithm. The algorithms on these different platforms are going to start serving your content to people that find your stuff interesting. If you're talking to a net that's too wide, you're too generic on social media. You have to be speaking to people that absolutely want to hear what you have to say. So like today, for instance, when we're creating this video, I'm wanting to talk to businesses that are basically from they're around 5 employees up to about 100 employees, and they have problems like, do I hire a marketing person? Do I hire 5 marketing people? Do I hire an agency? Do I hire, who do I hire? Who do I bring in to help? And then once they get somebody that's in marketing on their staff full time, or 2 people or 3 people, they start to realize very quickly that somebody that is a marketing person might have an expertise in like 1 out of the 30 or so different disciplines underneath of what marketing actually means. And so it could be a roll of the dice if you don't know what you're hiring for. If you're hiring a marketing person and you're trying to get really dialed in email campaigns, but you hire somebody that's really skilled in analytics and stuff for social media platforms, you're probably not going to get the best result on email campaigns if that's your desired goal. You'd have to hire an email marketing specialist. So there's all these different things that come in. So I'm trying to talk to those people. And a lot of these people are trying to get to their first 1,000 followers on social media so they can monetize their audience. So part of what we're also trying to do here is then after you start talking to the right people with the right language, then what you're going to start doing is you want to be able to look at your content strategy. So your content strategy is then going to be broken up into different ways. One of our favorite methods for helping clients is helping them become self-sufficient in this area, so they can choose to either work with us long-term if they just like a hands-off approach. But if they want to have a hands-on approach long-term, or if they have hired marketing people internally and they want to turn that stuff over to a on-staff marketing person, they're going to be able to take our frameworks and be able to do that over the course of time. And so we use a 5 content bucket strategy. The 5 content bucket strategy is brilliant because you pick 5 areas between your marketing professional side and what's important to the business owner and their management team. And basically, we all get on the same page with what makes the most sense to consistently make content for in those 5 buckets. So, for example, one of those buckets could be product reviews and like warm sentiments from clients. Another bucket could be products and services that you offer, but you're staying away from cold call to actions. Another bucket could be education. And we could keep on going, but basically just trying to give you like a tangible understanding of what the buckets could be. And what we do is we start to highlight your expertise around your business in these 5 different buckets. And over time, as you post content that's related to just those 5 buckets pertaining to your business, the algorithm then takes all of that content and then serves it up to people that are interested in digesting your content. So it ends up being a very, very, very efficient way of training the algorithm in your favor for your business. And typically, call us, when businesses call us to run ads for their brand, their business, whatever the case is on social media, we usually look at their organic posting strategy first. Most of the time, businesses are really struggling with understanding how to work with the algorithm on different platforms to be able to train those AI softwares that kind of govern who sees posts and whatnot and who gets viral and who doesn't. We start to help working with our clients so they can start training the algorithms in their favor. That is way more valuable than just taking cash and then dumping it into ads when you don't have a good optimized landing page on, let's say, Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever the case is. You want to make sure all of your organic stuff, especially your landing pages, are dialed in, but definitely your content going out is optimized, because all of that matters and it makes you a lot more efficient. So if you've been doing this now where you've basically, defined your brand, you've dialed in your audience, and you've also dialed in your message, and now you've dialed in your content strategy and you've got your 5 buckets sorted out, now you're going to start noticing, as you start posting over the course of 6 to 12 months, you're going to start gaining followers pretty quickly. If you are starting from a standpoint where you've been posting for years and you've just been posting random content for years, it may benefit your business and your brand on social media to delete a lot of your old posts that have nothing to do with the message you're trying to currently send out for your business. Confession here, we did that with our Funnel Force page within the last 2 years. Because when we started Funnel Force in 2021, we were serving almost a different audience. And then as we grew through from 2021 to 2023, we started to realize that we really wanted to serve a very specific brick and mortar client. So then what we started to do is we scrubbed our social media so that we could retrain the algorithm more efficiently instead of having to battle against our old posts. And I think a lot of people are scared to do that because they think that they're going to pull down all of their stuff that's out there. But really how these platforms work is that if you're posting consistent stuff from the origin of when you start posting until where you're at now, if it's consistent, talking to the same ideal client or ideal audience, what ends up happening is that your posts go further and touch the people that you want to touch. They will see those exact people you're trying to reach will see your content. And that's more important than just trying to keep a bunch of junk on your grid or junk out there living in social media world for people to maybe stumble upon at some point. In fact, you can actually send the wrong image about your business because first impressions are everything. And if somebody happens to see a post from last year's, Christmas special and it's promoting something you don't even sell anymore, that's probably an issue, right? So you just want to keep that in mind. So I think that kind of sums up the foundation of how to get your first 1,000 followers, because once you get your brand understanding figured out for your business, working with like a professional marketing team, which doesn't have to be super expensive, but it is time well invested and money well invested, then what you can do is you can dial in your exact client audience that you're trying to hit, your ideal audience you're trying to reach, but then you thirdly hit your ideal message, your perfect message that's going to touch that audience and cause them to move, because that is going to create followers and eventually will help you monetize the following so that you'll be able to then leverage your social media to drive more business. And so many people try to microwave this and it just doesn't work. So again, my name is Brent Stone with Funnel Force, and I hope you got something valuable from this particular social media session today.